If you have more generalist recruiters or your recruiters are responsible for more than just hiring, which they generally are, they generally have HR responsibilities as well, which really bogs down their schedule, then you may want to work with external recruiters. There's a bunch of different value adds, and I would say that the in-house recruiting team, whether they are generalists or specialists, an external recruiter can supplement that.
So today we are going to discuss 5 comparison questions founders should answer before their next AI hiring. So, in-house recruiting or external partners, who should founders actually decide?
It depends on whether you have the specialist talent in-house to recruit for the needs of the job. Specialize in that talent, then by all means, use that. If you have more generalist recruiters or your recruiters are responsible for more than just hiring, which they generally are, they generally have HR responsibilities as well, which really bogs down their schedule, then you may want to work with external recruiters. There's a bunch of different value adds, and I would say that the in house recruiting team, whether they are generalists or specialists, an external recruiter can supplement that. One of the major challenges that recruiters have is just it's really time. You have to search for talent, you have to screen the talent, you have to interview the talent, you have to put them through a process, you have to negotiate with the talent, you have to onboard the talent, and then you have to do performance review. I think we underestimate the job that HR and recruiting have to do. And external recruiters actually become supplemental to the internal recruiting team. And in fact, when I spent time at a private equity firm, each company we would invest in usually then leaned on our recruiting team to help them to scale up, right? So there's not this adversarial relationship and they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
What actually separates a specialized AI recruiting partner from a traditional agency?
Yep. So this is getting back to the question around generalist versus specialist. And so the generalist, I would say, can be very good at entry level roles, but you'll need the specialist when you need someone to identify specialized talent, right? Which is specialized talent and hard to find talent. And that's the world we play in, right? AI engineers, whether that's the technical project manager, whether that's the data engineer, all of these are unique skill sets that are in high demand. So not only do you need to understand what the skill set is, you need to know where to find those people and you need to know what their drivers are because all of them are well paid. So what are the things above and beyond that they're looking for that can help a company to attract that talent?
When does a freelancer marketplace make sense and when does it quickly cost more?
A freelance marketplace makes sense when you're looking for more short-term roles, right? So if you want someone to be a key player on the team and not someone who you can substitute in and out, you would not necessarily go with a freelance marketplace. There are other types of marketplaces that do have specialized and higher quality talent, and those can be where you look for key players on the team. It's worth understanding, though, that many of the people on specialized marketplaces also they tend to be more along the lines of contractors, right? Which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? But they think more like contractors, right? Because no one's putting their name on a freelance marketplace while they have an existing job for the most part. So that's another element of thinking through freelance plus specialized marketplace. But I would say if you're looking at marketplace versus recruiting agency, the difference with the agency is that a lot of the work as it regards to upfront vetting, to candidate communication, to negotiation, all of the friction filled processes that the recruiter would end up doing anyway, the internal recruiter would end up doing anyway, working on a freelance marketplace, those things can be handled by recruiting agency, an external recruiting agency. Flavors of recruiting and what you should do depends on what the needs of your organization are.
Staff augmentation or internal hires, which build a better AI team?
It's a good question because staff augmentation can look a lot like an internal hire. I'm going to sit on the side of internal hire because we're talking about AI talent. And that talent is so scarce that you would prefer to be hiring someone who is a true part of the team. The reason I say that is because when it comes to building AI products, there's so much contextual knowledge required to actually build a good AI product that you want someone who understands more than just generally how to build a solution. You want them to understand the problem that your business solves. You want them to understand how their CTO thinks and how their CTO thinks about solutions being delivered so that they can create a product that makes sense for the actual organization. This isn't, hey, let's build a website, right? AI, there's a lot more nuance that goes into it. And so an internal hire fills that need for nuanced understanding for what you want. Now, that said, I mentioned staff augmentation can look very similar. If you're hiring nearshore or even offshore, you can have a staff augmentation model where that individual sits on the payroll of another company, probably in the region where that person is hired. And by that, it's a staff augmentation model, but they can function very much like an internal hire. It's just a matter of who's taking care of a lot of the HR and payroll.
Okay, and if we have a generalist ML engineer or a specialist, who should be the next hire?
Definitely a specialist, right? And by specialist, I assume that we have identified that they understand the nuance for whatever it is you're building, right? I think nuance is the key word when we're thinking about AI. So on an AI team, someone who can understand your industry is a huge advantage because there's so much terminology around how to deliver AI driven solutions that play into how the product is created. If you don't have to train that person on industry knowledge, they can ramp up more quickly. That's not to say that a generalist won't be good. Maybe they are a superstar and you can come in and plug them in. There should be a lot of consideration taken into account what they know. This is also true for tools and technologies used. What's the tech stack of the organization? Right? There are people who are quickly able to learn new languages, learn other pieces of the tech stack, but we have to be very honest about what it means to ramp up. If one of these 5 comparisons is the decision sitting on your desk, tell us which one in the comments. We read them. And when you want to run your current hiring model against a LATAM full-time alternative, the link in the description starts the conversation.